The James Show Podcast.
I want to take a second here to focus on some local news because there's a ton of it, and none of it's as big as the almost terror attack for Fort Worth, the plot for terrorism that was thwarted in Fort Worth. But important nonetheless. First, there's another suburb that is going to put DART on the ballot. Give it up for the great people of Addison. Come on, man. We're pulling for you, Addison. You can do it. I mean, how big is Addison? It's just like a few thousand people. So how many of y'all would actually have to vote against it to get DART out of there? So that brings the tally up to, I think, 5 now. So you got Plano that's going to be voting on DART, on whether or not to kick out DART. Highland Park, Farmers Branch, Addison, and then what was the other one? Irving. Oh, yeah. You guys, I'm so proud of you. I have a feeling that if we get through this vote, this is going to be kind of the, point of no return for DART. And DART, look, I don't think DART will go away completely. I wish it would, but it may be reduced down to just a Dallas thing only. If everyone else is going to back out of it, and this is under the very real criticism that these people are paying more into DART than they're getting out of it. So what you have is these little suburbs that are actually subsidizing the public transportation of the big monstrous center city around it, or that they're around. And that makes no sense. That's not what's good for the people of Addison. That's not what's good for the people of Irving or Farmers Branch or Plano. And critics are quick to point out, well, Addison just got a new stop on the Silver Line. Yeah, and they still want out. That's a terrible idea. Bringing up another terrible idea doesn't change my thoughts on DART. And I hope the people of Addison make the right choice and vote against that next year. Next headline locally, that is kind of a big deal. You need to be aware of it. It's just not as hot and saucy as the almost terror attack that happened. TCU. There is a great report. I know you're probably not going to read it, but it was on the Dallas Express where there's the new Texas law saying you can't have gender studies or race studies. You can't do all this super woke stuff. We've got to end all the DEI curriculum in Texas schools. Well, we're seeing the games that they're playing because the administration at these giant public universities is full of people who don't want to get rid of that stuff, who don't want to follow the law, who are desperately looking for a workaround. And so now TCU is under the gun because a lot of the people are looking in, and a lot of them is alumni of the TCU alumnus. I hear a lot from you guys, and kudos to you for being all over your school. It turns out that maybe TCU isn't really getting rid of their race and gender studies departments as much as they're just kind of making them a subset within the English department, which means all those professors are still going to be there. They're still going to have jobs. They're still going to be teaching kids, and they're still going to be teaching it from the point of view that they prefer. But if you go look through the catalog and do some keyword searches, it might not pop up and be flagged under race and gender studies. So we're keeping an eye on that. And it's not like, oh, I'm shocked or whatever. You knew they wouldn't go down without a fight. You knew they wouldn't just let you cut off all these people and be like, well, I guess we lost. No, we're fighting. Keep watching. And the lesson here, and the reason why I wanted to share this story, is because this job is really being done by the people who went to TCU. I see who's filing the complaints. I see who's filing the lawsuits. I see who's doing the investigations. I see who's reporting on it in the media and being quoted in the media. I see what's going on social media. It's the fantastic graduates of TCU that are bending that school to their will. And I don't know if they're going to win or not. But I tell you what, that is the model we need to see. Whether it's SMU or UNT, or I've got a lot of pressure I want to put on you people who are Longhorns and Aggies. Y'all have got the two biggest monster schools in the greatest state and the greatest country the world has ever known. And if you guys could crack down on your schools, like I'm watching the alumni of TCU, and I'm seeing this happen in Baylor too. I'm seeing their alumni crack down on those schools. You would change this whole state for the better, and you would save us a lot of grief. Because one of the dastardly things about these colleges being so lefty is that you've got to deprogram all these kids after they think they've been taught. It's really hard to reteach somebody. It's really hard. Like if you're learning how to play guitar or play piano and they don't get the fingerings right the first time, it's really hard to go back at a later step in their development and untrain that terrible technique that they learned the first time around. So kudos to you guys for stepping up. Also, another headline that I think is huge, Dallas is having a bad year for murders. We need to have a serious discussion about getting a visit from the National Guard. I see reports going both ways where if you look at the numbers, it looks really bad. But then we're also being told that there's a new initiative where they're trying to crack down on crime in downtown, and it's having great effects. Is it? Because I saw in Fort Worth, they're actually doing something that I think we all wish Dallas would do, and they're handing out tickets for vagrancy. And they're handing out a lot of tickets for vagrancy in Fort Worth. Is that what they're doing in Dallas? Because the one good thing about having a twin city is that if one city is having terrible results dealing with crime in downtown and the other one is doing much better, then one of the obvious things that you could look at would be, hey, maybe Dallas should do what Fort Worth is doing when it comes to crime in their downtown. And so when you look at what they're doing different, this looks like one of the obvious ones. The powers that be in Fort Worth, they actually enforce the law when it comes to homeless people and panhandling and vagrancy. And I think technically the ticket is panhandling the way it was reported over here in the Dallas Express. But when one town is handing out hundreds of panhandling tickets and the other one's not, and then you see the difference of crime issues, can we at least try it? We have a pretty good example that Fort Worth is setting for their big brother Dallas. I hope you don't cringe at that metaphor there. But I think there's lessons to be learned, and I think that's fantastic. So kudos to Fort Worth. All right, we're doing the Cumulus Kids Toy Drive. You can drop off a toy at any Sampak auto dealership, and I know most people are just going to do the donation. But listen, if you don't have a cell phone, some people don't. Some people don't have a computer. Some people just have a phone that's plugged into their wall still. You can participate if you get a new unwrapped Christmas toy and you drop it off at any Sampak auto dealership. I don't know how you would look that up where the Sampak dealerships are without a phone or a computer these days. Do you still have a phone book? Can you look that? Can you get someone to look it up for you? I don't know, maybe ask your kids or grandkids to maybe look up the nearest Sampak auto dealer. I don't know where you live. But for the rest of us, go to WBAP.com, click through to the link, or you can text the word KIDS, KIDS, to the same phone number you used to call into the James Show, 800-288-9227. Text KIDS to 800-288-9227. We'll use that money to buy toys, and then I'll be with them when they give them out here in a couple weeks at Charles Nash Elementary in downtown Fort Worth or Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary here in the great city of Dallas. My next guest is a semi-regular on the James Show, Carlos Trujillos from the Dallas Express. Welcome back, sir. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving weekend.
I did, James. Thank you.
All right. First off, kudos to Dallas Express for getting a White House press pass. How come you're not the guy that gets to go to the White House and ask the questions? How come they sent Chris?
Well, he's the big boss for the company, so he'll do a good job.
Yeah, he'll be fine. It's just funny that, you get a press pass. Who gets to use it, Chris? I do. That's who gets to use it. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think he's playing favorites with himself. But Carlos, we have a lot of unanswered questions about this guy who was arrested for planning an attack in Fort Worth. Earlier in the show, we were trying to nail down, I think, two big pieces of info we'd all like to have is number one, what was he planning on blowing up? And number two, when was he planning on doing that? Do you have any insights on that yet?
So those are good questions that I think people are asking right now. So I did reach out to the sheriff's office, and right now they're not providing any further details when it comes to like which building he was planning to target. But the sheriff's office did tell us that this is not, a surprise for them. They've dealt with stuff like this over the past 4 years, and they're just prepared for stuff like that, which is very unfortunate that they're having to deal with stuff like this. But we did get, information from the sheriff's office that they've been seeing an increase and terroristic threats over the past 4 years, and it's been exhausting for law enforcement.
All right, so let me ask you about a couple of kind of odd stories here. In North Texas, there was a cockfighting ring that was busted recently, and I thought, oh, that was weird. But, hey, it's chickens, and, if people want to make their lunch fight, that's weird. I don't understand it. Kind of gross. But it doesn't bother me nearly as much as your story about the major dog fighting ring that was busted because, number one, I like dogs more. Dogs have a personality. I think they actually feel pain and attachment and love, which chickens are incapable of. But also the thing that bothers me is it's 45 people, Carlos. How big was this?
It was pretty big. The fact that it was 45 people and they were all connected to the, dogfighting ring in that rural community is very concerning. But it just goes to show that law enforcement is always, they're always investigating and they're always, trying to make sure that stuff like this gets shut down at the end of the day. And it goes to show that here in the state of Texas, law enforcement will not play around with illegal activities like that. And it's not just like illegal activities like this case, but it's also when it comes to illegal immigration, human trafficking. Law enforcement in the state of Texas are going to have a very strong stance when it comes to law and order, and they're not going to play around like other states such as California and New York.
Well, you say that, and then there's also this story on Texas Scorecard. I know that's not your outfit, but they were talking about how the Dallas County DA is taking the death penalty off the table for the guy who chopped off the head of the fella in the motel over here in East Dallas.
Yeah, it's very, very troubling that that's happening in Dallas County. However, we really should not be surprised that it's happening in Dallas County. We do have, 4 to 5 counties in the state of Texas that have Soros-backed DAs, or actually a little bit more than that. And those DAs, of course, their main goal is to make sure that crime, just happens out of the blue. They're not going to enforce the rules. They're not going to enforce the laws because at the end of the day, their goal is to support the criminal. And that's what Soros-backed DAs are going to be doing across the country, even in the state of Texas. They will defend the criminal because it's equitable or it's not, they don't want to be accused of racism. And that's always the excuse they always come up with is, well, there's too many individuals of a certain group being incarcerated, so we're just not going to do anything. We're going to loosen our laws to make sure that we have a more equitable society. And so, unfortunately, that's led to chaos across the country. You saw that in Chicago with the lady that was burned alive. And
you reported that he just had an arson conviction in August?
Yes, in August, he was let go, even though prosecutors were very concerned about his background and his mental state. And that's the pattern you've seen over across the country. You saw that also in North Carolina with the stabbing of the Ukrainian lady. That individual was let out more than 10 times. And when you have bad judges, when you have a bad judicial system that does not want to offend, that's the key word, is offending. They don't want to offend the criminal. They don't want to offend left-wing agitators that say, well, you have too many people of this group incarcerated, so you need to lower that number or else you're racist. And so the judges, they simply just let them go. And it's led to people dying. And the same thing is applied for legal immigration as well. They let them go, get off the hook, and you end up with a 12-year-old getting killed in Houston. I mean, it's all over the country. Soros-backed DAs are creating chaos. You're seeing that in Dallas. And the fact that this is even happening, it's sad. It really is sad.
All right. Well, Carlos Trujillo, you're doing great work over there. I'm probably going to read everything you write tomorrow, but I appreciate your insights here. And someone let me know when we find out on that Fort Worth guy where he was going, what he was planning on bombing, and when he was planning on doing it. Can you just keep me in mind whenever that comes across your desk?
Yeah, we will keep you updated if there's any other information that comes out.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Jovi. Welcome to Dead or Alive. I'm your host, James Parker. Today, slammed on the table, 2 tickets to see Motley Crue. It's their Carnival of Sins tour coming to Dos Equis Pavilion on September 10th. Get tickets and information at livenation.com. I don't think it is going to be a carnival of sins. I think they're going to be pretty nice, calm, chill dudes. I'll tell you my one Motley Crue story after today's episode of Dead or Alive, if Sean can remind me. But in today's episode, we're going to do Fort Worth. Now, we've done Fort Worth before, but it's been like a year and a half, and I changed half the list, although half of it's still the same. So we will see. Do we have anyone from Fort Worth? I will skip ahead and let them go first. Oh, yeah, we do. Well, that worked out nice. So it's Jonathan. Damn it, Garrett, you don't know how to spell Jonathan? Hey, Jonathan in Fort Worth, you're on WBAP. You ready for Dead or Alive?
Yeah.
Now, it says here Fort Worth. Are you from Fort Worth? Are you a native?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so how confident are you in your Fort Worth knowledge?
I don't know. We'll find out.
All right, well, you're going to find out here in front of God and everybody. We're going to start off with his fake name, J.R. Ewing from Dallas. His real name, Larry Hagman. He's from Fort Worth. Is he dead or alive?
Dead.
Well, you sounded real hesitant on the first one, Jonathan. All right, next one. Bill Paxton from that documentary Weird Science. He was also in Big Love and Alien. Dead or alive?
Sadly, he's dead.
Yeah. Mark David Chapman. He shot John Lennon. Dead or alive?
Dead?
He's alive.
Oh.
You let your whole city down. They're all disappointed in you, Jonathan. Thank you for playing, sir. All right. Yeah, I like to insult the contestants on their way out. It's a real sweet game show host thing I got going on here. This is Brian in Plano. You ready for Dead or Alive, sir?
I'm ready.
All right, former NBA player, and he was also in NBA Jam, Wayman Tisdale, dead or alive?
He is alive.
No, I would have guessed, too, because he was in NBA Jam, and that was in the 90s. He's dead.
Wow.
Sorry about it. All right, let's go to Brian in Alito. You ready for Dead or Alive?
I am.
All right, Bob Schieffer. He was the host of Face the Nation for a long time. Retired or dead? Which one is it?
Dead.
Nope, he's alive. I know, he's old as hell. He was like old as sin when he was doing the show like 10 years ago. He's still with us, though. Having a tough time here. Tony in Ennis. I guess God wants you to have some Motley Crue tickets. Are you going to screw this up? You ready to go?
I'm probably going to screw it up, but yeah, let's go for it.
That's the right attitude, though. Kelly Clarkson, the most famous person from Fort Worth. Is she dead or alive?
Alive.
Yeah. And actually, Kelly Clarkson, damn good talk show host, too. Leighton Meester, if you don't recognize that name, she was in Gossip Girl. Is she dead or alive?
Alive.
He's alive. Gorgeous, too. Ganilla Hutton, she was in Petticoat Junction and Hee Haw. Is she dead or alive?
If you're saying hee haw, I'm going to go dead.
No. I would have. It's a reasonable guess, sir. But yeah, she's still alive. She's still kicking. I Googled it right before the show. This is Brent in Weatherford. You ready for Dead or Alive?
Yes, sir.
Roger Miller. He wrote King of the Road and a bunch of other country songs. Dead or alive?
Dead.
He is dead. And finally, for the Motley Crue tickets, his name's Taylor Hawkins. He's known for being the drummer for the Foo Fighters. Dead or alive?
Alive.
No, he's dead.
Ah.
I don't know. Oh, look at this. We have two Fort Worth people on. I'm going to go with James. James in Fort Worth. You ready?
Hello?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to do anything. You already won. That's all. Yeah, because the last guy missed the last one. Now, the only thing I'm going to ask you is, are you actually a Motley Crue fan and wanting to go to the show September 10th?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, then they're yours. That's how it works here on Dead or Alive. Thank you, Mr. Jovi. Yeah, so my one Motley Crue story, I can keep it short. We go back in time. It's either 2002 or 2003. I'm working at a radio station here in town. I don't want to say which one it is because it's a competitor now. But we were having a Christmas party. And Vince Neil from Motley Crue was going to be the guy who did the entertainment. And so he was going to come in, and that week he was going to be on our show, and then we were going to go to the Christmas party, and then afterwards we were going to for real party with the lead singer of Motley Crue, baby. Yeah, I don't know. What are we going to do? Are we going to go hang out with like Pantera at the clubhouse, and there's going to be like girls and drugs and rock and roll everywhere? No, actually, he was sober at that point. And I had a wonderful conversation with him and his very likable wife. We talked about current events. We talked a little bit about music. We talked a lot about economics. He's a Keynesian economist, if you really must know. And it was one of the most boring Christmas party experiences I have ever had, hanging out with Vince Neil.
The James Show Podcast.